Okay, so today we're going to go through image transfer techniques. Now, this is best done on a dry piece of pottery. If you paint a background, it really needs to be bone dry before you go on to a transfer. Now, I prefer doing directly onto an unpainted plate because it goes on better, and then your design really pops having that white background. In this project, we use a white background. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pattern, and this was something I traced, made a copy. You can always bring in copies of your own images. Now, this is very detailed up here. It's best to start with a less detailed image, more like clip art, but you can bring in your own printout. We have the transfer papers to work with. So the first thing you want to do is you want to cut out this excess. Now, don't cut right up around everything. You want a little spot to handle. Plus, it was not copied center onto this plate or onto the page, so I don't want to go and have that page sitting there looking awkwardly lopsided. So cut everything out neatly. You do want to have just a bit to be able to grab as you're working around things, okay? So this is our floral mason jar. I did not do the bottom. Down on the bottom, we're going to have grass in our complete design. I do have this. We'll be doing a paintable transfer, but I have this printout to kind of show me where I want our floral mason jar to be. And I like that. That's good. I might make this jar a little taller. Okay, have plenty of room for our grass on the bottom. Always go by your design as far as where it's positioned, not the actual cutout, especially if you have a squared off design. Now, you want to always have your hands washed very, very well and dry very, very well. We're going to be using a product called SARAL paper. It's a transfer clay carbon paper. And we have these in the studio. You do not need a full sheet to cover the whole thing. I'll show you how we use smaller sheets. They work best. One thing you want to keep from doing is you do not want to tape your pattern. That's misleading. Things can shift. You always want to keep one hand on it. Don't just tape it. Now, these clay carbon papers need to be bone dry. If you have a drink sitting nearby, you might want to move and dry that area. Once these are wet, they no longer can be used again. They can be used over and over and over, as this one. You see all the designs we've done on it. So with the clay carbon paper, the SARAL paper, I use red. There's other colors that are out there. I like using the red. That goes down. The red side goes down with the light side up. Now we're going to have our image placed nicely. If you have a curve, such as this plate curves up, you might have a little buckling. Don't worry about that. Just make sure the whole thing is centered as you want. I think I can actually come up slightly this way. Now, I like to start at the top because my hand works from the top to the bottom. So we're going to, with our hand on it, we're going to slip our clay carbon paper down. Remember the red side to your piece. Now, as you're moving things around, you're going to get smudges. No problem. This burns away. So I'm just going to go over this floral area. Always keeping the hand down. Nice sharp pencil. You don't want to tear through your design as you're tracing. Ballpoint pens work nicely. because they roll nicely and you get some good pressure. I like the pencil. Now this is black, so of course a black pencil won't show. You just kind of have to keep track of where you're tracing. Start in one area, work it all the way. Now, if your pattern has lots of little designs, such as little veins and leaves, just don't do all those little tiny areas. And it does not have to be perfect to the pattern. Like these little zigzags around this dandelion, you don't have to follow each of those little zigzags. Make your own zigzag pattern. It'll be all right. So I'm going to start up here. Of course, my hand is on both pieces. If you go off the line, no problem. Don't have to go fast, but you want to make sure you're pushing hard enough. So once you get a few pieces done, then with one hand still on your piece, still have it in its place, lift up, and then you can see the pattern. Remember, I'm holding it down still. Make sure it does not shift. Now with this technique, if it shifts on you, especially with this many little details, it will not match up. So you might have to finish the rest off yourself by tracing it just directly on the plate with the pencil. Now, I like to use a nice towel so I can hold everything and shift. It's easier to move my plate around like that than to twist my wrist out of joint. So simply go over it once. If you're not sure if you caught an area, of course, keeping it lifted, keeping your hand down, lift back. Of course, you don't have to do all the little designs, just for the basic pattern. This one here is quite intense. Now, when you get to curves, your piece is going to buckle, just wing it. And believe it or not, once you get going, it'll move along a little more easily as you go. And if your leaf is a little bigger than it shows on the design, that's okay. If it's a little smaller, no big deal. If you miss a petal, it's all right. You can go back and fill that in with a pencil. This is just a guide for when you paint. And as you see, especially like with these leaves and petals, I don't go around the whole thing. Let's see, did I do those? Nope, not yet. Take one side, stop, go to the other. I'm not tracing around the entire line. I'm doing, say, half and half. I think I got this little leaf here. This little piece of fern. Now, if you're doing lettering, don't worry about going around the entire letter without lifting your pen or pencil. And again here, I'm just going to do some zigzags. I'm not matching the pattern. I just know this is a dandelion that has a zigzag pattern. And when you're painting, you don't even have to follow that, but you know that's going to be your dandelion. Okay. Of course, if I miss one of these little pieces of this, I'm not even sure what this is. Kind of maybe lilac? Don't know. If you miss one, you'll be able to see it. It's like, oh, I missed that spot. I can go back in. Yeah, I can go back in when I paint that leaf. I was going to fast forward this on y'all, but you know, it's moving along pretty good. Now when you're doing lettering, especially if it's block style, it's good to really kind of keep that directly to your design. If you get sloppy with that and then you follow that sloppy look, when you're painting, it's going to show. But flowers are easy. They can be fat petals next to skinny petals. Of course, remember, I'm keeping one hand, so I can kind of tug and pull, keeping one hand. Maybe missing some of these little stems behind everything, but we'll figure that out when it turns out to be a little empty space there. Follow its fells, add a little green and a few lines. Say, yep, that's a stem in the background. That's a petal. This little flower here is super easy. You don't have to trace on all the little designs on it, but I'm going to. It's super easy. A lot of these, when you're painting, you'll just kind of put a little spot of color, and then the actual floral pattern comes out nicely when you do your outlining. But this helps me know where everything is. I don't think I got this little one here. I may have gone over a few already. Let's see here. Didn't quite get this flower. See, that's not taking too long. Now when painting these little spots, I'll show you how easy it can be. We're going to use a little tiny liner brush and just tap in bits of light colors. I got those, and just see, I can kind of finish some of my thoughts here, or if it didn't come out too strong. Yep, there is a leaf behind here. That's what that is. That's the center of that leaf. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and go up to my jar. That's the little threads on the neck of the jar. Flowers are always better in a mason jar. And if drawing a line is just too much for your hand, pick it up and, you know, make smaller increments of line. Now, as you see, I'm kind of running out of my red here. So what we're going to do, so I can move this down, we're going to hold the bottom nicely, slip this out. Always keep on guard how far your transfer paper is. I've caught myself tracing an entire piece without moving the transfer paper, and that wasn't great. Now I didn't put a line on the bottom of this because I'm not exactly sure how deep long I want to go with it. I may come down a little further, do my grass pattern. And now these aren't necessary. These are just glints you can throw in, but that's perfectly fine to do after you paint your mason jar. because there's no sense in tracing something that's going to be covered up. Looky there. I'm still holding a piece of it. I'm going to hold it down here. Kind of missed this little booger here. And something needs to go in there. Oh, that's right. The stem for this goes up. Okay. Aha. I'm missing this here. See how important it is to keep the your template straight? I think my leaf comes down like that. Of course, you'll find out. Oh, yep, that's where that was part of this here. There we go. Got a leaf going up there. All right, I think I'm good with that. I can finish that out with no problem at all. There we go. This little petal here continues underneath. That's all right. So we're ready to remove. And there it is. So have fun.